4 years ago, Qatar spent $220 billion to host a tournament that lasted 29 days. The stadiums they built are still sitting there. The legacy plans haven't started. The crowds never came back. That's the model every World Cup host has followed for 30 years. Build everything, own it forever, figure out the rest later. This summer, North America is betting it found a different way. No new stadiums, no construction debt. Just 104 matches, 48 teams, a continent full of existing venues that were never designed for any of this. The question isn't whether they have enough seats, it's whether the whole thing holds together once the world actually shows up. Let's back up for a second, because to understand what North America is doing, you first need to understand what every other host has done. When a country, or in this case 3 countries, wins the right to host the World Cup, FIFA hands them a checklist. You need this many stadiums, this pitch size, this capacity, these broadcast facilities. And for most countries, that checklist means one thing: construction. Brazil spent $11 to $15 billion for the 2014 tournament on different stadiums. The parking lot of the stadium Estadio Nacional Main Garrincha was converted to house city buses to help offset the $900 million price tag. Qatar took it even further. 7 entirely new stadiums built in a country with basically no football culture to begin with. And this isn't just a spending problem. Studies looking at the last 3 World Cups found a negative return on investment for host nations. You spend billions, you get back less than you put in. And then you're left maintaining these massive stadiums that your domestic league doesn't need. This is the trap, and it's been sprung on almost every host for the last 30 years. So when FIFA awarded 2026 to the United States, Canada and Mexico, a lot of people expected the same story. But it didn't go that way. Here's the thing. The US and Canada already have the stadiums, and not just any stadiums. Not World Cup stadiums specifically, but NFL and MLS venues that, in terms of capacity and infrastructure, are some of the best sports facilities on Earth. MetLife in New Jersey holds 82,500 people. at&t Stadium in Dallas holds 94,000. SoFi in Los Angeles holds 70,000 under a fixed translucent roof. And for the World Cup, retractable corner seats are being added to widen the pitch. So the decision was pretty straightforward. Why build when you already have it? The official number of new stadiums being constructed for 2026 is 0. Now, that doesn't mean these venues required no work, because there's a real technical gap between an NFL stadium and a FIFA-ready one. NFL fields are narrower. Most stadiums run artificial turf. FIFA wants natural grass and a wider pitch, so the renovation work that did happen was surgical. Pulling out corner seats, reconfiguring lower bowls, installing modular seating systems that can be swapped back after the tournament. At MetLife, where the final is being held on July 19th, they removed 4 corners of the lower bowl's precast seating entirely and replaced them with a new modular steel system. At Arrowhead in Kansas City, 3,000 sideline seats were removed and replaced with modular removable sections to widen the pitch to FIFA dimensions. Plus, a subsurface aeration system was excavated under the playing surface. 8 of the 16 venues are also replacing artificial turf with real grass, a project that involved a research team from the University of Tennessee and Michigan State. In Canada, the work was more involved. BMO Field in Toronto started at 30,000 seats, way too small. A $150 million project is adding temporary grandstands to push it past 45,000. Those temporary stands have sparked some debate online because people are posting videos saying the bleachers look steep and are swaying. The organisers say they meet the same standards used at the Paris Olympics, but it's gotten attention. Vancouver's BC Place is getting a new video board and a mandatory grass pitch installation. And the city passed a temporary FIFA bylaw running from May to July 2026 that basically allows them to fast-track permits for temporary structures, relax noise rules for international broadcasts, and clear unauthorized signage within 2 kilometers of the stadium. Mexico is following the same playbook. Guadalajara, Monterrey, and Mexico City are all leaning on existing infrastructure, including Estadio Azteca, which is about to host its 3rd World Cup. No other venue in history has done that. So, yes, there's work happening, but the total spend on renovations across all 16 venues is a fraction of what either Qatar or Brazil put into construction alone. The math isn't even close. Now, just because they aren't building stadiums doesn't mean they aren't spending money. In March 2026, the US Department of Transportation announced $100.3 million in federal transit funding for the 11 American host cities. That money covers things like shuttle route planning, upgraded transit frequency, wayfinding systems, and equipment. Basically everything that happens after you leave the stadium parking lot. New York and New Jersey got $10.4 million for shuttle frequency to MetLife and crowd management at Secaucus Station. Los Angeles got $9.6 million. LA Metro is positioning itself as the official transit provider for the 8 SoFi matches, where parking already costs up to $95 a spot. This is a direct continuation of the LA 1984 Olympics playbook, which is one of the reasons Los Angeles was picked to host the 2028 Summer Games. Then there's security. The federal government set aside $625 million in security grants for host cities. And for a while, earlier this year, those funds were frozen because of a partial DHS shutdown. Host cities called it catastrophic. Miami officials said their fan festival would be cancelled if the money didn't come through by the end of March. As of mid-March, some of those funds have begun moving, but the process remains slow and host cities are still waiting. Drone protection got an extra $250 million in December 2025. Perimeters around NFL venues become high security zones for the tournament. There's also investment happening in training infrastructure. The Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center in Fayetteville, Georgia, a $228 million project, is opening in April 2026. 200 acres, dozens of pitches, facilities for 27 national teams. In Houston, $55 million is going into NRG Park. This is the shift. The costs didn't disappear. It moved from construction to operations. Qatar tells you what the alternative looks like. 4 years after the final whistle in Doha, Lusail Stadium, built for $45 billion worth of new city around it, still hasn't begun its promised conversion into a community hub. Al Bayt's modular upper tier was supposed to be dismantled and donated. The work has been repeatedly delayed. The stadiums exist, the legacy plan doesn't. Across all 3 host nations, there is no downsizing problem because every venue already has a full-time tenant waiting on the other side of the tournament. The day after the World Cup final at MetLife, they can start prepping for a Giants or Jets game. That's the legacy people talk about. Not a monument to waste, but a smarter way to use what's already there. Take a city like Seattle. They're expecting 750,000 visitors. That's like doubling the city's population in a week. If the light rail fails or the shuttle systems can't handle the surge, it's going to be an international embarrassment. Plus, there's the political side. We've seen tensions between local host communities and the federal government over who pays for what. In March 2026, the White House publicly discouraged Iran's national team from attending, citing safety, a reminder that this tournament is happening against a backdrop of active geopolitical tension. In Foxborough, local officials threatened to withhold the World Cup license over $7.8 million in security costs, and they meant it. The standoff lasted months. It only ended when the Kraft Group, who owns Gillette Stadium, stepped in and agreed to front the full amount directly, bypassing the federal funding process entirely. The town gets its money. The matches happen. But the broader $625 million in federal security grants is still largely frozen as of mid-March, and Foxborough is just one of 11 cities waiting on it. The reused stadium model works great for the 90 minutes of football happening inside the building. The harder question is everything else. How 60,000 people get there, how they move around a city that wasn't designed for this volume, how a multilingual crowd of fans from different nations navigates a highway interchange in New Jersey. That's the risk that hasn't been solved yet. So the question going into summer 2026 is not whether North America built enough stadiums. It clearly did. The question is whether it can actually run the largest World Cup in history through infrastructure it already had. If the transit runs, the security holds, and the fan festivals go off without a hitch for 5 to 7 million visitors across 11 American cities, 2 Canadian ones and 3 Mexican ones, that's the proof. Not a press release, the tournament itself. And if it doesn't, that's a different kind of expense. Not construction debt, reputation. So what do you think? Is this the future of all global sports? Or is North America just underestimating the chaos that's about to hit? Leave your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more Megabuild stories. Thanks for watching.